Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's BDF44. So I only have about 12 minutes to make this video, which, is not ideal, but it's all good because I have something I want to say. We're on Protect Your Children, Save the Children. That's something that's on a lot of our hearts and minds right now. So I figured I'd better just make a video and kind of say what I have to say about something in regards to that. A lot of what goes on in our families, we tend to hide. We tend to try to suppress things that would otherwise be out and revealed, just because we want to protect family members for more or less obvious reasons. The problem is when children are being taken advantage of, molested, or etc., anything of that nature, it becomes a situation where it's upon all of us, anybody who's aware of this, to bring it to the forefront. Not only because a child has been touched, but because this person probably is touching other children as well, or will touch other children if they get away with this. It's that simple. I saw a post that kind of prompted me to think this way. It said, stop telling your daughter to stop wearing shorts around Uncle Randy and start telling Uncle Randy not to come around. That's kind of along the lines of what I'm talking about. I was born an uncle. I have nieces, nephews, great nieces, great nephews, cousins, and all of that. I would not be offended at all if my nephew didn't want me around my nieces alone. I wouldn't want to put my family in a position to even have to question that by finding myself alone with my nieces. It's just etiquette at this point. If you're a grown man, those are not your kids. You probably should be supervised around children. This is just the times we're in. I'm at that point at this point in my life where I think that should be the norm. I don't think these circumstances or the environment for which certain things can take place should ever even be allowed. Just like I say about cheating. You cheated once you find yourself in that room. You ain't cheat when you do whatever happens in the room. You cheated once you walked in that room and let the door close behind you. At that point, you've already made enough of a mistake to ruin your situation. And this is not much different in my opinion. People get accused of a lot of things when they don't do stuff. People do stuff and are never found out. If you don't find yourself in positions for that to happen, neither can take place. And I think that is ultimately what my message is today. I hate that we have to be here with this in this way. I hate that I have to come to this conclusion. It's not a natural one by any stretch of the imagination. But pedophilia and the harming of children is such a serious matter that you have to take drastic measures to protect children if you're going to do it effectively. And I think the best way to handle that is to make sure that no grown man, or in some cases, or grown woman, is left alone with a child by themselves. I just don't think that we should even be there anymore with that. I don't even think that should be a thing anymore. I think it should be etiquette, just a new etiquette, sort of like us wearing masks. People get offended when they don't see you wearing a mask in certain cases. I think people should start looking at it as etiquette to not wish to be alone with someone else's children. The environment for certain things can never take place, and that's what we want to do. We want to zero in on trying to condition ourselves to take preventative measures in cases such as these. A lot of us love to say what we would do after the fact. A lot of us love to say what we would do if we catch somebody. Many love to keep these things quiet to protect others. None of that stuff has to happen if people just kind of condition themselves to think this way. I think that's where we're at. I think that's where we're at. My thing about pedophilia is I'm uncertain how many people are out there who have this. I don't know if you call it a preference. A lot of people get offended when you say preference. I don't know how to describe that, but people suffer from it. Maybe it's a sickness. I'd imagine it's a sickness, right? So I say they have pedophilia. That's what I call it. It just seems like a sickness to me. But you can't ever know who has it because they're in the shadows. They're scared to come out because everybody wants to kill them. And as a result, they're not getting the help that they need, and they can continue being the monsters that they are. Um, and that's just not a good formula for protecting children. And that's where my mind always goes in situations like these. How can we best effectively prevent anything from even occurring? And we have to change the way we operate. So I don't know how best to do that. I mean, without infringing on people's rights, so to speak. But at the end of the day, I just think when it comes to etiquette and things that we consider to be rude or things that we should consider to be unacceptable, one of them going forward should be a grown man left alone with a child, or a grown woman left alone with a child that ain't hers. Um, it ends all possibilities of this nonsense from even occurring. And like I said, this is not something I think is realistic to be able to really just ask everybody to do this overnight, and to think people are going to go along with this when they're not pedophiles, or they're not harmful to children in any way. But what I'm saying is, there's so many of these people who are in the shadows. You know what I mean? They're your neighbors, they're your mailmen, they're your lawyers, they're your church members, and your preachers, etc. All these different, the various hats that humans wear. I'm certain you'll find these people in just about every place you go, with various different levels of monsterism, so to speak. Some are probably worse than others in terms of whether or not they're willing to or capable of taming that monster, that demon inside. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think enough conversation has been had to educate us enough on how to view these people, what it is that you need to do to protect children properly. We don't really have these type of conversations. Every time these conversations are brought out, we talk about what we do when we catch them, just like I said, and that'll be the end of it. But I want to stop this from ever happening. I want to get to a space where there ain't no kids ever being touched by nobody. You know what I mean? Not uncle, not mama, not daddy, not stranger, not, you know what I mean? I just think you got to take some really, really drastic measures to make that happen. And I think if there were ever a worthy enough cause to do something drastic, this would be the one. I don't want anybody alone with my kids at all. I don't have any children right now. But if I were to ever to become a father, I don't want nobody around my kids, bro. I'm not, with the experiences that I have in this world and the things that I know others have gone through. I don't want to react to something so horrible. You know what I mean? I don't want to get to a point where I'm thinking about what I would do if somebody. I want to make sure that I'm smart enough and on top of this enough to ensure that it never has the possibility of even happening. And that doesn't feel realistic. You can't watch your kids 24/7, but Uncle Larry doesn't have to come through. Auntie Son doesn't have to be here. That kind of thing. Like, at some point, you just have to be honest and say the only way we can truly effectively stop this is by just making sure that kids don't have alone time with grown people by themselves, or by twos for that matter, if they're little bitty kids, that kind of thing. Too many. It's just too many people out there, and they're in the shadows. You just don't know who they are. So, yeah, man, protect your kids. Please protect your kids. If you're a monster inside, you know who you are. I would love to tell you to go get psychological help, but the reality is, the way this country's set up, if you try to go get psychological help for that, they're going to turn you in. Yeah, I think that is directly complicit to the upkeep of pedophilia, to be completely honest with you. I don't think that is a mistake or something that people haven't thought through. I think that that's deliberate. I think they're trying to keep these people in the shadows because a lot of them who are in positions to do something about it are also sickos, monsters. And that's why that has fallen through the cracks as it has. You can't even go get help for this. That is wrong. And it's along the same lines of what I was told about sharing Facebook pages that you may find, pedophilia pages. If you find them and you report them to Facebook, you're basically going to put them in a position to be notified that they've been flagged, and then from there they can, move their operation if they're trafficking children, create other pages, that kind of thing. You're basically telling them they've been caught so they can protect themselves and move on. So that is along the same lines as that. You got to be very careful about who you report what to, because not everybody is going to be about the business of protecting the child, even if they say they are, even if that's what their purpose appears to be. Again, in the shadows. So it's just one of those situations where it's like there's no way to really to properly vet this process without keeping a camera on your kid 24/7. So yeah, that's what I gotta say, man. Be careful about who you report what to, and just do whatever you can to protect not only your kids but everyone's children. That's why I want the culture to change. That's why I want it to become rude for someone to try to be around a kid by themselves if they're grown. Because it just needs to be a culture change. We need to protect our children from a cultural standpoint. We need to protect ourselves from a cultural standpoint. We need to get to a point where it's just rude for you to walk around with a child that ain't yours by yourself. You know, just like it's rude to not have your mask on in public these days. So that's what I'm about. We're changing how we're approaching certain things. We're not just reacting to them. We're taking on preventative measures, and we're going to take on these conversations head on, no matter how difficult or triggering they may be. They're a necessary topic, and these are necessary times to address these very difficult topics. And I'm the right person for it, man. I'm definitely up for it, and I hope that you are as well. We're gonna do everything we can to assure that the foundation for protecting children and the foundation for systematic justice is laid forth for the next generation to take the baton and run with it. And that's really what this generation feels like it's all about. Those of us alive today, we just have to lay down a strong enough foundation for our kids and grandkids to build upon. And that's what all of this is about. So protect the kids, man. Save our kids. Get those kids out of those ICE cages. Abolish ICE altogether. Anything that treats our immigrants as if they're subhuman just simply because they don't have paperwork or we don't have space for them is it's a humanitarian crime. Okay, let's just be honest. We're not treating people humanely, and we're not doing it for reasons that count against their character and their merit as human beings. That is wrong. Okay, so let's get this right. My name is BDF44. God bless you all. Peace.